Now that's a surprise. जी
Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
I could manage it.
माँ जी जी जय जय धारी माँ आप सबको जी
Thank you.
हरे कृष्णा हरे
What
Hare
an
कृष्णा
honor
Krishna.
meeting you, Doctor, again.
Thank you, ma'am. Very, very happy and grateful to be in your station.
And meanwhile, you must have produced more books.
Yes, absolutely. There's a book on Lord Shiva that I wrote recently that's just published.
You also must tell us on this show what makes you write so much and write so well, and how do you research? And do you sleep, or do you even write while sleeping?
I sleep sufficiently. That probably is the reason I'm able to do a lot of work.
जी
Fantastic.
हम शुरू करते हैं
Next
जी
time.
जी जय धारी माँ आप सबको हमारी ऑडियंस का स्वागत है आ जाइए जुड़िए ओम नमः शिवाय हरे कृष्णा जय सिया राम हम आज रोर विद करेज के चैप्टर से चर्चा करेंगे इसमें छोटी छोटी बहुत प्यारी कथाएं हैं बहुत गहरी कथाएं हैं This is also a chapter which is leading to Lord Rama reaching Mithila. तो ये सब लीला है जब हमारे ऊपर जिम्मेवारियां बहुत होती हैं और हम अपनी जिम्मेवारियों के प्रति बहुत जागरूक होते हैं वो जिम्मेवारियां हमें सक्षम बनाती हैं हमारी समझ शक्ति की वृद्धि करती है और हमारी सहन शक्ति की भी वृद्धि करती है तो इस चैप्टर से आप ये महसूस करेंगे जी शुभा जी आप थोड़ा सा कॉन्टेक्स्ट भी इसका सेट कर दीजिए क्योंकि लॉर्ड विश्वामित्र जब प्रभु यात्रा के लिए ले गए वन में इट वाज टू हैंड ओवर ऑल द डिवाइन weapons to Lord Rama, the mantras, the missiles, the knowledge. And please put this in also another context that Lord Rama, being the Lord, yet was ready to receive the knowledge. So, ji.
There's a very beautiful section in the Ramayan, which I consider is to be the defining section of the Balakand of the Ramayan, the first volume of the Ramayan, where Vishwamitra Muni he comes to Ayodhya and meets Dasharath Maharaj, and he tells Dasharath Maharaj that he wants to take Ram with him to the forest, so that Ram can help him protect his yajna against the demons who are trying to spoil the yajna. And that whole conversation between Dasharath and Vishwamitra Muni is a very powerful conversation, and it ends with Dasharath Maharaj agreeing to give Ram to Vishwamitra Muni, and Vishwamitra Muni takes Ram along with Lakshman for a long journey towards Siddhashram. And in Siddhashram, Vishwamitra Muni performs a 7-day yajna. And Lord Ram and Lakshman, at the last phase of the yajna, they actually end up protecting the yajna against Marich, Subao, and all the demons. The interesting part about this story is that this story is a story of Vishwamitra's progression. It's a story of how, in the beginning of the particular chapter, Vishwamitra Muni was a very tough and hard sage, and as he spends time with Ram, he actually starts becoming softer and softer and softer. And actually, through the whole journey with Lord Ram, the few months that Vishwamitra Muni spent with Lord Ram, he gave Ram everything that he had. He shared with Ram all the knowledge that he had. He offered Ram all the missiles and the powerful weapons that he had. He offered Ram, shared with Ram hundreds of stories that he knew, all the knowledge that he had accumulated over so many years. And finally, Vishwamitra Muni ended up uniting Ram and Sita. So he offered Ram the biggest gift, the gift of union with Mother Sita. So Vishwamitra Muni in this whole journey is slowly progressing. He's slowly progressing in his spiritual journey. In the beginning of the journey, Vishwamitra Muni was alone. He was practicing his spiritual life on his own. without taking any shelter of God, without taking any shelter of the Supreme. He was in his own path. But at some point, Vishwamitra Muni realized, I can't do everything on my own. I need grace of the Lord. And that is why he actually invited Ram to be with him for the 7 days. It was a pretext. The yajna was a pretext. The actual reason Vishwamitra Muni took Ram was so that he can surrender to Ram. He can surrender everything that he had to Ram. And by surrendering, Vishwamitra Muni grew. So many times we feel that when we give God something, we lose. But actually, the fact is that when we give God, we grow. We never lose. We are never the losers. And this whole story of Vishwamitra Muni is a very powerful story about how one person gave everything he had to God. But at the end of the story, you'll find that Vishwamitra Muni has grown so powerfully. And of course, he remains historically in the Ramayan forever.
Can you explain this a little? I think they're very good statement that when we give to God, we grow. When we give to God, let's put it in ordinary context of ordinary mortals like us
Yeah.
who are listening to
So,
you.
so everything that we have, whatever we have, is given to us by God. So it is easy to say that nothing belongs to me. It is easy to say that. In fact, many people say that nothing belongs to me, everything belongs to God only. But can they actually live by that? So a lot of times when we say that nothing belongs to me and everything belongs to God, what if, like say, suppose somebody names his house as Krishna Bhavan, belongs to God, Krishna's house. Will that person really give that house to Krishna? He will obviously not. He will name it Krishna Bhavan, but the house is his, isn't it? The reason we cannot go to the next step is because when we say nothing belongs to us, we are not really saying everything belongs to God. And when we say when we say nothing belongs to us, what does it really mean? It means, first of all, I have not created it, isn't it? Um, all the materials in creation with which we build our life, it is not created by us. It was there before we came, and it will be there after we go. So when we say something belongs to me, does it really belong to me? If it was belonging to you, you can take it along with you when you die. But you can never take anything along with you when you die. So first thing is nothing belongs to me. Second is everything belongs to God. And the third thing is that nothing belongs to me because I didn't create it. And the fourth thing is everything belongs to God because God created everything. And the fifth part of this statement is very important. Nothing belongs to us, everything belongs to God because I didn't create anything, God created everything. But whatever we have in our hands is given to us as caretakers. We're all trustees, we're all caretakers at best, tenants. So now, if something is given to us by somebody else who owns it, what does it really mean? That means, suppose I take a friend's car and go for a drive. I should be more careful, right? Because it doesn't belong to me. I need to be really careful because it belongs to a friend of mine. I need to be more responsible while driving that car. Similarly, whatever we have, including this body, doesn't belong to us. It has been given to us, and it is put under our care. Our families, they're not ours. They have been given to us to take care of. Our wealth, it doesn't belong to us. It has been given to us to take care of. Our strength, energy, it doesn't belong to us. It has been given to us to take care of. If something has been given to you, it is best if whatever has been given to you, I use that again in God's service. When whatever has been given to me, I use it back in God's service. That is when we are completing the cycle. That is when we are completing the cycle of giving, receiving and giving back. So whatever we have in our lives, whatever we have in our possessions, it will be wonderful if we adopt a non-abusive philosophy. A non-abusive philosophy means that because it doesn't belong to me, I need to respect it. I need to take care of it, and I shouldn't abuse it. This body doesn't belong to me; it belongs to God. It has been given in my care. I cannot abuse this body by taking all kinds of bad substances, by not taking care of the body at all. When I do that, then I'm respecting this body and I'm using the energy, using the body in the service of the Lord. That fulfills the very reason it has been given to you. I think that's the cycle which we are really talking about in this chapter.
And service to God is considered service to mankind. Service to humankind is considered service to God.
They go hand in hand together. Service to God and service to humans, they go hand in hand together.
Right.
Ji. And Shubha ji, I think it's also so important to surrender the I at the Lord's feet. If we can surrender our I and know that we are not the doers, only
Absolutely.
Paramatma, yes, only Paramatma can give. हम तो सिर्फ एक छोटा सा माध्यम है, वो भी उनकी कृपा से. जी, आगे बढ़ते हैं इस यात्रा में. गुरुदेव ने सब कुछ प्रभु को बताया, लॉर्ड रामा को बताया, लक्ष्मणा जी को नहीं बताया. ऐसा क्यों?
Lakshman is a very interesting character in the Ramayan. He is completely sold out to Ram. Lakshman himself describes who he is in the Ramayana. When in Ayodhya Kanda, the Ramayana, where Lakshman and Ram are having a conversation, Lakshman says, "I am like a fish, and you are like a water. The fish cannot exist without water. When the water flows, the fish goes along with the water. So if the water is not going to be there in Ayodhya, the fish is not going to exist in Ayodhya." So Lakshman, that is how he considers himself. That is how he regards himself. So he does not exist without Ram. And the love, affection, and the respect that Lakshman has for Ram is unfathomable. So Vishwamitra Muni, when he gives the mantras to Lord Ram, Vishwamitra Muni tells Ram to go and have a bath in the river. And Ram comes back after having a bath. Vishwamitra Muni offers some very powerful mantras known as Bala and Ati Bala mantras to Ram. He narrates it here in the years of Lord Ram. The Vedic culture, there is the process of initiation, the process of Diksha, where the Guru gives mantra to the disciple, and it is supposed to be secretly told in the years, basically. So Vishwamitra Muni narrated the mantras to Ram in his ears. Ram heard and absorbed the mantras, and then Ram gave the mantras to Lakshman. Why? Simply because Lakshman would not be comfortable taking the mantra directly from Vishwamitra Muni. That would put Ram and Lakshman on an equal pedestal. It would put Ram and Lakshman at an equal level. Lakshman would never want that. He always wants to be a servant of Ram. He always wants to be assisting Ram and never reach a point where he's equal to Ram. In today's world, where everyone wants to become the boss and nobody wants to become the das, here is a very beautiful example. Everyone is aspiring to become what we call as boss on the boss. Bigger and bigger and bigger aspiration to become the boss. But in spiritual circles, the aspiration is to become the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. Dasanu dasanu das. So Lakshman epitomes that by his actions, by his humility, and by the way he looks at himself and positions himself in the service of Ram. He would never want to become equal to Ram. And therefore, this particular story is such a beautiful story in today's context. While everyone is trying to overpower others, especially we find in organizations and corporations where an employee joins in. And what is the goal of the employee? The goal of the employee is one day sit on the seat of the CEO. That's the goal. So everyone wants to kind of replace somebody else, isn't it? And that creates so much of insecurity. That creates so much of trauma in everybody's hearts. Here in the Ramayan, we have such a beautiful connection between Ram and Lakshman. Lakshman never in his entire life he wants to reach at the level of Ram. Because he feels I am never going to ever be at the level of Ram. I want to always remain servant of Ram. People need good assistants, and people like Lakshman are such powerful assistants that they love being an assistant, being in control.
Shubhaji, you also have to be very secure and self-assured to just be. What does it mean in this context to rise like the sun spiritually and emotionally?
Rising above is an internal journey. The sun is compared to knowledge, and any kind of knowledge that we acquire must help us rise higher. Everyone in today's world wants to rise, um, emotionally, physically, financially, in their careers, intellectually, and spiritually. Everyone wants to fly high. Everyone wants to rise high. But most people, when they are aspiring to rise high, they try to use shortcuts. They try to use shortcuts to fly high, to rise high. When we use shortcuts, we're actually doing it in a very unnatural way. Naturally, rising high will happen if we are in the right consciousness, in the right spirits. And spiritually rising high happens when we are actually bending low. There is a material law of gravity. The material law of gravity says that anything that is thrown up comes down. That's the material law of gravity, right? So that means if you throw something up, it will naturally come down. But the spiritual law of gravity is very interesting. If you throw something down, it goes up.
How?
So the spirit,
Explain.
because when in spirituality, when you bend down in humility, that is when you go up. So materially,
Wow.
what most people try to do is that they try to jump up, right? Using shortcuts or whatever means. They think that is how you rise up. And invariably, the world pulls you down. Invariably, nature pulls you down. But spiritualists don't try to go up, they try to go down. And the laws of nature pull you up.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
how the world is designed.
Wow. That's a great statement, Saina. That's why if you see how they prostrate when people go to the temple, they totally prostrate.
Correct. That's the
Anna?
sign of surrender. That's the sign of bending down. It's not just saying that I am bending down. You're actually bending down physically.
Wow. Wonderful ruler. Rule. One in the material world and the other in the spiritual world. Material world, if you go up, you may be brought down. But in spiritual world, the more you go down, the more it takes you up. Nature or divine forces take you up. Super.
शुभा जी, गुरुदेव की जो भी नॉलेज वो दे रहे थे, जो भी he was giving everything he had to Lord Rama, but it was beyond the theoretical knowledge. So what was really happening in that yatra? Because there's such a beautiful conversation between them. So what was really happening, if you could take us into that?
Yeah. So, from the beginning of the journey of Vishwamitra Muni to from Ayodhya to Siddhashram, there were many levels at which Vishwamitra Muni was um, connecting with Lord Ram. The first thing Vishwamitra Muni did to really connect with Lord Ram was he shared his knowledge. After sharing his knowledge, Vishwamitra Muni, pardon? Yeah. After sharing his knowledge, Vishwamitra Muni, he felt at some point there is something missing in my life. Um, Vishwamitra had a very interesting realization that night. Lord Ram was sleeping on on a bed of grass. He was sleeping on the hard floor on grass. When Vishwamitra Muni saw Ram sleeping on the floor on grass, he felt a little bad because here was a prince who was used to so much comforts, who was used to so much luxury, who was used to so much of um, pampering by his mother. And here he is, without any complaints, sleeping on the hard floor in a forest. Vishwamitra Muni, he felt that I need to do something to help Ram uh, deal with this discomfort. So Vishwamitra Muni told Ram and Lakshman stories that night. And as Vishwamitra Muni was telling stories to these two then young adults, he felt very nice. Because all these years, Vishwamitra Muni was living alone in the forest, not in the company of any human beings. What to speak of youngsters? And when Vishwamitra Muni was telling stories to Ram and Lakshman, he felt amazing. He felt very nice. And at that point, he felt, I am missing something in my life. The next day morning, when Vishwamitra Muni got up early in the morning, he went to do his tapasya, and then he came back and he saw Ram and Lakshmana still sleeping. And that's when he saw the sleeping beauty of Lord Ram. And suddenly he realized what he is missing. He, at that point, composed a very beautiful poem. And this is one of the very famous poems that is often recited. Kaushalya Supraja Rama Purva Sandhya Pravartate Uttishta Narashardola Kartavyam Devamanikam. Vishwamitra Muni composed this beautiful verse. And in this verse, he first glorifies Kaushalya. Kaushalya Supraja Rama. So he's talking about how Ram is a son of Kaushalya. Kaushalya Supraja. Praja means disciple, Praja means citizens, Praja also means child, Supraja means very good son of Kaushalya. And the Acharyas explain that Vishwamitra Muni, when he took the name of Kaushalya, he got stuck there. And for almost 1 hour, he was just chanting the word Kaushalya again and again and again and again and again. He didn't complete the whole verse. He only got stuck at the word Kaushalya for 1 hour. Why? Because suddenly Vishwamitra realized how fortunate Kaushalya is to be able to see the sleeping beauty of Ram every day. Vishwamitra Muni was thinking, I am so unfortunate. This is the first time in my life I'm seeing the beauty of Ram like this. But Kaushalya is so fortunate that every day she's able to see the sleeping beauty of Ram. That day marked a very important milestone in the progress of Vishwamitra Muni's spiritual life. Because this is the first time in his life he was appreciating somebody else. So far, as a sage, he is living a hard life alone in the forest. No time to appreciate anyone else. No time to think about anybody else. No time to glorify and no time to contemplate on the greatness of other people. There's so much, focused on their own greatness and their own growth, right? Suddenly, Vishwamitra Muni realized that I need to depend on others for my growth. I cannot grow alone. If I'm staying in the forest on my own, I'll grow to some extent. But when I appreciate somebody else's greatness, I grow more faster. This is known as a law of dependence. The world is created to depend on one another. And to the extent we realize the law of dependence, to that extent we actually have the opportunity to grow. And then eventually become dependent on God. We first become dependent on each other, and then we become dependent on God. So Vishwamitra Muni, he shared his knowledge first, and then he learned the law of dependence. And then as they went further, they reached a hermitage, a very beautiful hermitage. And in this hermitage, it was a desolate one. And Vishwamitra Muni wanted to know so Ram immediately wanted to ask Vishwamitra Muni, whose hermitage is this? Why is this empty like this? At that point, Vishwamitra Muni said, this hermitage belongs to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva stayed here in this hermitage for a long period of time. And one day, while Lord Shiva was performing his tapasya here, Kamadev, he came and tried to disturb Lord Shiva. The gods, actually, Indra and all, they sent Kamadev to wake up Lord Shiva.
Which
And
was second.
Kamadev, in his own naivety, tried to go and disturb Lord Shiva with his arrows. And when Kamadev did that, when Kamadev disturbed Lord Shiva with his arrows, Lord Shiva woke up and his third eye opened up. And he burnt Kamadev to, it is described, he burnt him to nothingness. Not even ashes remained. So imagine what kind of fast burning that was, like super, super intense burning. Not even ashes remained. From that point onwards, Kama got a new name. His name is Ananga. Anga means the body, and Ananga means the one who doesn't have a body. So from that day onwards, Kama doesn't have a physical existence. It's only in the mind. So if you actually notice the nature of pleasure, as long as it is in your mind, it seems very exciting and pleasurable. The moment you actually get it physically, it's nothing. There's no pleasure at all. It's hardly anything. When it is the mind, it seems so titillating, it seems so exciting. But when it comes to reality, physical, it doesn't have any physical existence. That's the nature of desire. As long as you see a phone on a billboard, it's very exciting. The day you get it on your hand, excitement goes away. It just seems ordinary, isn't it? That's the nature of everything in this world. So from this particular episode, Vishwamitra Muni learned a very important lesson of balance. Um, the world is a, a combination of give and take, of selfishness and selflessness. Desire means selfish, thinking about only yourself. And desirelessness means thinking about others. Vishwamitra Muni realized if we have to exist in this world, we need to have a balance between giving and taking. We can't always be taking, and we can't always be giving. We need to strike the balance between the two. And that helped Vishwamitra Muni grow to the next level, where he understood the importance of balance between selfishness and selflessness. And so, like this, at every point during the journey of Ram, Lakshman, and Vishwamitra Muni, there were so many beautiful lessons being derived. There were so many amazing, deeper insights that Vishwamitra Muni was getting in the association of Lord Ram. And so far, he has been living a very lonely life, and he has been practicing the path of spirituality on his own strength. But now, in the association of Lord Ram, so many newer realizations are coming. So many amazing insights are coming in his journey of spiritual progress.
You spoke about balance. Would you like to share the laws of balance with us? What are the laws of balance?
Yeah, I kind of spoke about the law of balance just now. So, law of balance means we have to strike a balance between giving and taking. So, we mostly live a life of taking. In fact, right from the day we are born, the Srimad Bhagavatam uses a very interesting term to define all of us. It's actually a very derogatory term that the Bhagavatam uses for us. The Bhagavatam calls us Jantu. The day we are all born, whether you're born in a human body or any other body, you are called a Jantu. You know
Jantu.
what? Jantu. Jantu means a living entity, or it's a creature basically. And interestingly, the reason the Bhagavatam is calling us Jantu is because we are all born selfish. From the day a child is born, if you notice, whatever the child gets, he want to put it in his mouth, isn't it? Whatever the child gets, he wants to put it in his mouth. Why? Because the child is only thinking about growing himself. The child is only thinking about his own needs, isn't it? And if you actually look at the progression of a small child, almost till the age of 5 or 6, The child cannot think of anybody else. They're only thinking of taking, constantly taking, constantly taking. One day, that little child, he realizes that my mother and father are giving me so much. Let me also feed them. The day the child takes his hand a little morsel of food and puts it in the mouth of the father or the mother, that day is a big progress in the life of the child. And the Bhagavatam, the scriptures speak about how the child is progressed from being a jantu to being a jiva. And a jiva is an entity, is a person that is thinking of giving others. And from the level of jiva, we when we study the Bhagavad Gita, and we understand that we're not the physical body, we're the spirit soul. We reach the level of Atma Tattva. That is one level
Atma,
higher.
Atma,
Atma Tattva. Atma Tattva.
Tattva.
Atma Tattva, yeah. That is a progression. That is the next level of consciousness where we actually look beyond the body. And then, after we progress much further, when we grow in our spiritual consciousness much, much further, we reach a level which is known as Vaikuntha Chetana. Vaikuntha Chetana is a level at which you respect everyone, you worship everyone, and you serve everyone. And that is a level at which you have no envy in your heart. That is a level at which you have no anger, no pride, no greed, no lust, no jealousy, and no malice, no avarice in your heart. That is the level of progression that we all need to reach. So we all are in a journey from selfishness to selflessness. We are all on a journey from me to we. We're all on the journey from take to give. We're all on the journey from um, selfish consciousness to God consciousness.
No wonder if you see, Shubhaji, where every mother trains the child to give to others.
Correct.
इसको भी दे दो, भाई के साथ बांटो, अपनी बहन को दो, अपनी फ्रेंड को दो. वो
Correct.
कहता नहीं, बच्चा कहेगा मैं नहीं, नो, वो नहीं देगा. लेकिन उसको माँ को ट्रेन करना पड़ता है
Correct.
कि इसको भी दो.
Correct.
And the child cries if it is taken away to be given zabardasti. No child willingly gives.
Absolutely.
And very few children, संस्कारी children give. उसमें बच्चे बच्चे में फर्क है. कई बच्चा willingly देता है और कई बच्चे को जबरदस्ती कहना पड़ता है कि दो. ये मैंने फर्क देखा है बच्चों में. कई बांटता है, देता है, मगर बड़ा रेयर बच्चा है जो अपने आप देता है, अपनी बहन भाई को देता है. Isn't it? It's a very good.
Absolutely.
It's
और
a very very.
कुछ लोग तो जीवन भर बच्चे ही लेते रहते.
You will remain a child, you continue to keep and not give and share.
Absolutely.
इसीलिए कहते हैं, आई थिंक इंडियन फैमिलीज में ये भी होता है कि बहन भाई हो तो एक दूसरे को देना सीखते हैं. बहन भाई नहीं होते तो अकेला रहना, सेल्फिश जीवन बिताते हैं. See, that's why some parents go for more than one child, only to train the child to share.
Correct.
And individual children who have grown up for themselves, by themselves, a lonely home, they have to be taken to other homes
Correct.
to realize what it is to give. And then they give to the age-old homes or they give to children homes. Many parents take their children to such homes for training to do charity.
Correct. And it's a
Very
very
well
important.
said. Yeah. That's the reason. Because basically every one of us is born selfish.
Correct.
Because anything would be, even a toy, we want to put it in our mouth, not knowing the toy cannot go inside. Saina, do you remember your childhood? Saina, do you remember your childhood?
Well, blessed. I would like to ask Shubhaji about Lord Vishwamitraji's.
She's dodged the question.
No, I haven't. I think the audience has joined us.
No, the audience also is probably joining with us with joy, because they're all getting connected on that. Basically, it's a fact that we're all born selfish till we learn to give, or we train to give, or we want to give. And as he rightly says, it's like in hell. In hell, everybody, वो शर्त ये लगाई थी कि ना कि आपने अपना हाथ मोड़ना नहीं है, आपने हाथ
Yeah.
मोड़ना नहीं है, खाना है लेकिन शर्त है हाथ नहीं मोड़ना. Everybody remained in hell, everybody remained hungry, क्योंकि मोड़ना अलाउड नहीं था. And the day they start to feed each other, they start to feed each other, everybody was fed.
Correct.
ये ना दो instances है ना between
Yeah.
hell and heaven. This is a story. Do you remember that, Doctor Shubhaji? Tell
Yes,
us this
yes,
story.
absolutely.
Tell us this
Absolutely.
story.
So basically, there was a test organized
Yeah.
where there were people who were made to sit in rows, and their hand was tied with a stick, with a wooden spoon that was long, and they couldn't bend their hands.
Yeah.
So, and everybody was given a plate of food, and they had to eat their food. But obviously, they couldn't bend their hands, so they were all trying to figure out how to eat without bending the hand.
Yeah.
And so many of them were so frustrated because the food was falling all over their face and all. Till one person finally found out that if I just extend my hand and feed the other person,
Yeah.
and the other person eats, and that person extends his hand, feeds me, all of us can get satisfied easily.
Yeah. And from here comes the philosophy of potluck, where अपना अपना खाना लाओ, सेंटर में रख दो, सब जने शेयर करके खाएं, अपना अपना खाना. That's another way. When many times when we do a meeting, अपना अपना खाना लाओ और share करो, or pass on the box. I remember we celebrated Diwali sweets one day. Everybody brings a gift for the other. Everybody gets a gift, but everybody also gives a gift. And it has worked. So घर में से जो भी तुम ला सकते हो लाओ अपने friend के लिए gift. So you don't go buy something which you like to give. So घर से लाओ, पैक करके लाओ और अपने gift दो. Whoever is sitting next to you. And this is how everybody got a gift. So nobody knew what they were going to get. And also shared the food. I think these are great ideas of sharing food, sharing gifts, whether it's festivals, etc. Sana, you like the idea? Are you taking it too seriously?
Seriously, ji, mommy, about
Why
the
don't you smile a bit? You are being taught such interesting things.
ji, just listening, ji.
Yeah, smile a bit. Why are you angry? Why are you sad? Don't be sad. Happy. See, Shubha ji is teaching you so many interesting new things.
Ji, sure.
How to
Ji.
feed the other. Feed the other. Give to the other. Which you do when you go to the prison work every day. You go and give. What do you give? Do you know what you do? Saina, do you know what you do? You give time to others. You give your divinity and prayers and blessings for others, don't you? That's giving.
Ji.
Are you feeling embarrassed that I'm saying this on live program?
No, mommy, I don't think anything embarrasses me anymore. Trying to go beyond all this. Ji, trying to go beyond everything. Ji. So, with your permission to be
Sana's in a
pursued,
different mood today. Sana's in a very different mood today. Sana, be
ji,
happy. Be happy.
ji, ji, sure, ji.
तो शुभू जी साइना को कुछ समझाओ how to always be happy as she is. She's very angry with me. Saina is going to scold me after the program.
Saina ji is always smiling. That's what I like. So she's having a very divine smile.
Ji. Thank you.
Spiritually gifted.
Yes, all blessed, all Ma's Kripa. And
That's right.
ji, Shubha ji, take us forward with how Gurudev Vishwamitra ji was so moved when he saw the Kaushiki River. The tale of the Kaushiki River.
What did you say? The last sentence?
Kaushiki, the river, the Kaushiki River.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah. Vishwamitra Muni was telling Ram and Lakshman stories of every single incident that happened, through the journey. Whatever Ram saw, he would ask Vishwamitra Muni about it. and immediately Vishwamitra would tell a story. Vishwamitra Muni was such a flood of knowledge. He was so profound in his knowledge that he would keep sharing and sharing and sharing so much wisdom with Ram and Lakshman. At that point in time, they were passing through a forest, and they were on a river in a boat. And as they were on this river's name was Kaushiki. Vishwamitra Muni tells the story of this river, and it's a very interesting story because it is very much connected with him. You know, Vishwamitra Muni, before he became a sage named Vishwamitra, he actually his original name was Kaushika, and um, he had a sister whose name was Kaushiki. So this river on which they were was actually Vishwamitra's sister who had become a river. So there was a sage named Richika Muni who married Kaushiki, and Kaushiki and Richika Muni lived together for a long period of time. And at some point in time, Richika Muni he decided that I've spent enough time in the Grahastha ashram. Now I need to focus on my spiritual practices, and he set away from his house. He went into the forest to uh, very intensely practice his spiritual life. At that point in time, Kaushiki, she was thinking, what should I do with my life? And she decided the best way that I would want to serve or live my life is by serving society. And she decided that if there is anything um, that has the greatest capacity to serve, it's a river. And Kaushiki took the form of a river for the rest of her life, selflessly serving society. And that's the river on which Vishwamitra Muni and Ram Lakshman were. And Ram Lakshman were just so amazed by looking at two people, siblings, Vishwamitra and his sister Kaushiki. Both of them are living a life of seva. Both of them are living a life for others. And they were one in the form of a river and one in the form of a sage. Apparently, the river seems to be lifeless and the sage seems to be having life. But the river and the sage, the amount of service they're doing for society is exactly the same. The river is a source of so much of resources for everyone, and so is a sage. And Vishwam Raman Lakshman so happy to see that the siblings, brother and sister, they,
Does the river Kaushiki somewhere still persist? Is it, or the names changed? Kaushiki.
if I'm not mistaken, Kaushiki River is still there. I don't know what is the modern name of it, but the river is definitely existing still.
Which part of the country?
It's the Kaushiki River has a connection to the Ganga. So basically, the Vishwamitra Muni traveled from Ayodhya towards Mithila. So basically, from Ayodhya to Nepal, they were traveling, and somewhere on the way, there's a place called Siddhashram. So if I'm not mistaken, it's somewhere in Uttar Pradesh.
जी Shubha ji, another katha we can share about this would be very appealing to the audience. बाली की कथा ओनम ओनम के बारे में.
So the Ram Lakshmana and Vishwamitra Muni they reached Siddhashram, and when they reached Siddhashram, Siddhashram was the ashram of Vishwamitra Muni. After they reach Siddhashram, Vishwamitra Muni tells Ram that this ashram belongs as much to you as much as it belongs to me. So Ram is wondering why is he saying like that, and then Vishwamitra Muni tells them some very interesting stories. And one of the stories that he says that long back, this particular ashram was the residence of Vamanadev. So Vamanadev, one of the incarnations of Lord Vishnu, resided in this place, this very place. And in fact, his parents, they actually performed tapasya to have Vamana as their son in this very place. And therefore, Vishwamitra Muni. So now, technically, if you see, right now, the Siddhashram is in the possession of Vishwamitra Muni. It's in the hands of Vishwamitra. He's controlling it. But Vishwamitra Muni very, very clearly knows, though right now I might be controlling the Siddhashram, it doesn't belong to me. It belongs to so many other people who lived over here in the past. Before me, somebody else stayed. Before me, somebody else stayed. And originally, it belonged to Vamanadev. And the same Vamanadev has come as Ram now. So therefore, Vishwamitra Muni is telling Ram that this ashram belongs as much to you as much as it belongs to me. So technically, interestingly, if you see, Vishwamitra Muni controls the Siddhashram, but he's saying, I don't possess it.
Manages it.
Ram actually owns Siddhashram. That means it belongs to him. Everything belongs to him, right? But he doesn't control it. So he is let go. So this is a very interesting combination of how we should look at the law of trusteeship. So the law of trusteeship means if something belongs to you, it doesn't mean that you are in control of it. And if you are in control of something, doesn't mean it actually belongs to you. So it's a very, very interesting way of looking at life. So if someone says, I own this, it doesn't mean I have control over it. And somebody says, I have control over it, it doesn't necessarily mean I own it. And that understanding is what makes life mature and human beings more mature.
जी
Very well said.
जी शुभा जी, मारीचा का जो एक एपिसोड उसमें आता है वो थोड़ा सा बताएंगे बिफोर वी कंक्लूड द प्रोग्राम, बिकॉज knowledge needs to be applied. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but if it's not applied, what's the use? Maricha is that. Ji.
When Vishwamitra Muni, Ram and Lakshman reach Siddhashram, there is a very interesting episode that happens. Vishwamitra Muni tells Ram and Lakshman that I'm going to perform my tapasya. I'm going to start performing the yajna now. And this is going to be a yajna that lasts for 7 days and 7 nights. And Vishwamitra Muni tells Ram and Lakshman that the moment I start the yajna, I have to take 2 vows. I have to take a vow of silence and I have to take a vow of abstinence from anger. So he says, once I take these 2 vows, for 7 days and 7 nights, I need to follow it. And Vishwamitra Muni, before taking the vow, he tells Ram and Lakshman, please be careful. Any moment, anything can happen. And then Vishwamitra Muni starts the yajna. Ram and Lakshman, they are taking care of the yajna kund for 7 days and 7 nights. And amazing, there's a beautiful analogy that is described about how Ram and Lakshman take care of the yajna. It is explained that just like the eyelids, 2 eyelids take care of the eyeballs, they protect the eyeballs. Similarly, Ram and Lakshman are protecting the yajna of Vishwamitra Muni. So the yajna is compared to the eyeball, and Ram and Lakshman are compared to the 2 eyelids. And it is explained, Lakshman was standing in one place for those 7 days and 7 nights. And Ram was moving around, going around, coming back, going around, coming back. Just like the upper eyelids go up and down, the lower one remains the same place. Similarly, Ram was moving around the whole yajna kund, Lakshman was stationed in one place. So like this, Ram and Lakshman protected the yajna. And as the yajna was about to be completed and the sages were about to pour the last oblations, suddenly they hear a ear-splitting scream. And suddenly, these thousands of demons, they start throwing all kinds of obnoxious flesh and blood and all kinds of dirty substances into the yajna kund. And the moment all these dirty substances are rushing into the yajna kund, Ram and Lakshman start shooting arrows and they create a canopy around above the Yagya Kund, like an umbrella, and do not allow anything, any of the obnoxious substances to enter into the fire. And they protect the Yagya Kund of the Yagya of Vishwamitra Muni like that. Marich, Subahu, and all the demons who are there, they get very irritated by the fact that they are not able to destroy the Yagya. And they decide to come down to destroy it. As they're descending down on the ground, they suddenly realize they are not able to reach the ground. You know why? Because Vishwamitra Muni and all the sages, they're chanting powerful mantras. The power of those mantras do not allow the demons to get on the ground. And then the demons, they realize the mantras are good vibrations, isn't it? When we chant mantras, it creates a powerful vibration around you. So the demons realize the only way to counter these mantras, which are good vibrations, is by creating another type of sound, which are bad vibrations. And the demons started shouting all kinds of bad words. So now from top, bad words are coming, and from below, mantras are coming. And the interesting thing was, though the bad words and obnoxious sounds are coming from top, they were not able to destroy the sound of mantras that were coming from below. And the demons just couldn't come down. And then Ram Lakshman started shooting these demons one after another. And finally, uh, Ram shot an arrow and burned to Subahu. And then Ram shot a second arrow at Marich. And the arrow which Ram shot was known as Manava Astra at Marich. And it was a blunt arrow. And the arrow was so powerful, it hit Marich and pushed him almost 800 miles into the ocean. And he fell in an island which is today known as Mauritius. It is explained that that island is named after Marich. And so Ram threw him so far away. And then all the other demons were burned down by Lord Ram. So this particular story has a lot of beautiful lessons and understandings which are deeper in nature. It is explained the yagya, the fire sacrifice, the fire is very pure, and the sages were throwing pure things into the fire. They were throwing butter and clarified ghee and many other pure substances into the fire, and the demons were trying to throw obnoxious things into the fire. Right. So that fire is compared to our mind. There are two types of people that are trying to throw two different types of things into our mind. The first type of people are the sages, who are trying to throw good words, good thoughts, good stories and good concepts into your mind. At the same time, there are demons who are trying to throw all kinds of obnoxious substances into your mind. Now, many times, the demons overpower the good people, right? Similarly, many times we are trying to hear good people telling us good things, but we remember the bad things more, isn't it? Because the nature of bad things is it creates more memory than good things, unfortunately. And that is why we need protectors like Ram that prevent the bad things from entering into our mind. Ram and Lakshman represents the intelligence. The intelligence acts as a filter that prevents the bad, obnoxious things from entering the mind and allowing and encouraging the good and powerful thoughts to enter into the mind. After sufficiently trying to protect the mind, Ram and Lakshman fought against Marich, Subhahu, and all the demons. It is explained Marich represents a person who takes uncalculated risks in life. Taking risk is important. Everybody has to take risks in life, but you should know which risk is worth taking and which risk is not worth taking. Marich looked at Ram and he thought he's a young boy. What is this kid going to do? He saw Ram standing with the bow and arrow. He underestimated Ram's power. And he thought, this is a small child. What is Vishwamitra Muni got two small children to protect these yagya? And Marich and Subhahu did not bother to understand who Ram is. And they attacked the yagya unnecessarily. And the moment Ram's arrow started shooting, that's when they realized that they are in big trouble. Similarly, there are many people like Marich who take risks in life. But many times they take risks without calculating, whether it is worth taking that risk or no. So whenever we want to do anything in our life, You should definitely do it. But before you do it, make some proper analysis of what kind of risk you're getting into. You shouldn't get into a risk that is so costly that you lose everything in your life. And that is how Marich and Subahu, they lost everything in those few moments. Vishwamitra Muni, after the yajna was completed, he was so happy with Ram and Lakshman. He blessed them and gave them profound blessings, and he thanked them for protecting his yajna. And interestingly, Vishwamitra Muni told Ram and Lakshman that this yajna was not meant for his own welfare. He was doing the yajna for the welfare of the world. Therefore, Vishwamitra, his name, the very name Vishwamitra suggests, Vishwamitra. He's a friend of the world. And whatever he does is welfare for world. So Vishwamitra Muni called Ram and Lakshman not for his own benefit, but he called for the benefit of society. And that is how the sages are. And Ram and Lakshman were so happy and so grateful to have served Vishwamitra Muni through this service which they had just rendered.
थैंक यू शुभा जी. अमी, आप कुछ बोलना चाहेंगे कंक्लूजन में?
I think it's a very lovely conclusion which he's giving. The Vishwamitra is friends of the world. और आजकल Hindustan, India is being called Jagat Guru, moving towards being a Jagat Guru. I think it's Jagat Guru, but through being a Vishwamitra. Because when the government of India decided to send COVID medicines to the several countries around the world, it was being a Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra, which is catapulting them to become the Vishwa Guru with yoga spreading all over the world. So see, it's becoming a Mitra of the world, Vishwa ka Mitra, and by evidence. ऐसे नहीं कि मैं Vishwamitra हूँ. It was like helping them when they died, when the world needed them most. When the Western world was not parting with what they had, India was parting with medicines which they could spare at any, and along with looking after their own people. I think that was Vishwamitra. So lovely understanding of what Vishwamitra means. Vishwamitra is one word, a name, but it also means Mitra of the world. And that is why now India has been started to be called the Guru, the Vishwa Guru. That's a new thing which has been coined. But I think a lot of things during your whole discourse today has been about the trusteeship. Trusteeship, how important that nothing belongs to us. We are all being entrusted, whether it's our bodies, whether it's body or anything to live in this world, is all borrowed, is all on loan. And anything which is borrowed and loaned, if it's kept with care, you give it back with interest to the succeeding generations. And not that you consume it fully, but you pass it back and many of the trusts which have been done is exactly that, where companies have earned. What have the Birlas done? Every time the rule in the Birlas is that कोई ना कोई temple construction होते रहना चाहिए. उनका कोई एक जगह कहीं ना कहीं टेम्पल बनता ही जा रही. अभी recently they've inaugurated one in Goa, but very important temples in Goa. So I think it's a very good concept which you've shared. Is a question. That's exactly what Gandhi ji said. The trusteeship concept, where I have been entrusted and मेरा पास जो भी है वो दूसरे का है, मुझे जिम्मेवारी से उसको निभाना है, उसको कंज्यूम नहीं करना है, बल्कि उसको बचा के और आगे को देना है. तो जो भी आज भी धर्मशाला जो बनी है, सराय बनी है, जो हमारे जो आप देख रहे हो, वो वही थे जो हमारे एल्डर्स ने कमाया और पिलग्रिम्स के लिए छोड़ा ताकि वो आराम कर सके. पहले सराय बोलते थे, धर्मशालास बोलते थे, pilgrimages बोलते थे. अब कुछ और बन चुके, rest houses. Now we call them rest houses, and also called dharmsalas. We also call them dharmsalas. That's what the trusteeship council was. Trusteeship concept was. But you said so much. I've written all those what you said. I like the word Lakshman, how he was like a fish and never wanted to be without the water of Ram. He was always wanting to be with Ram because he's like a fish. And for him, Bhagwan Ram was the water. He never wanted to be separated from that. So that's what I take away today is a repetition of the word trusteeship.
Thank you. Thank you for summarizing so beautifully.
Thank you so much, Shubhaji. till we meet again with your
Yes.
story. I was telling Saina, if we could have, rather than starting another book, we could pick up a character of Ramayan from the Ramayan and totally analyze the character. Where did he come from? It'll be excellent because all of us know a bit, but we don't have the thoroughness about that character. Like, for instance, you talked about a bit of Lakshman. So I think we could pick up a character. So therefore, when we share, when we design a poster, we can say all about, like you alluded today on Vishwamitra a little. Where did the name come from? Where did he? All that history. It's like a character where people will love to read all about Vishwamitra, or about Lakshman, or about Ram, or about Hanuman, or about Sugriv, and all about Ravan. Why did he have these 10 years? All these general knowledge questions. General, which, if, and you could also share what are the sources of these in case people want to read about them. What are the sources they can go to so that they can also read the literature where your information is coming from? I was thinking, I was discussing with Saina and Shakira and the team that can we ask Shubhaji that instead of now starting a series of the book, we could start about a character, all about a particular character. Whichever character you are wanting or you think you would like to, that is what can be shared with the demonstrative learning team. And then the poster designed that Shubhaji will tell us all about him as a story. It's like one Amar Chitra Katha of that person. Tell us one Amar Chitra Katha of that person. I think it will be very interesting for all across age groups, to our Indian listeners in particular. What do you think,
Sure.
Shubhaji?
You'll be happy to, whatever way you want me to serve, I'll be happy to serve.
So now we could go from your book to a character, particular character coming from your books, which
Sure.
has been written in your various books, but now you are combining one from various books. And you could tell us, then you could also tell us the sources where you could read more about them. People can be given the reference to context.
Sure.
जी शुभा जी, थैंक यू। हमारा टाइम कंक्लूड हो गया। We'll meet you next month। जी, हमारी ऑडियंसेस का बहुत
Whenever you have the time, Dr. Shubha ji,
आप हमारे
whenever you have
साथ
the time.
जुड़ें। जी, हम दोबारा प्लान करेंगे। जी, हरे कृष्णा,
Thank you so much.
जय
Hare
सियाराम, जय धारी माँ, जय धारी
Thank you.
माँ। जी,
Thank you very much for your time
Hare Krishna.
and your wisdom
Thank you.
and your knowledge. Thank you.